Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network. This is our special Saturday edition called Step Up Your Game with Dan. I'm your host, Dan Handford, and I'll be discussing topics to help you make better decisions to increase your productivity, increase your sales, and improve your overall marketing. Visit toughdecisions.net to sign up for our free weekly entrepreneur email. Before we get started, let's hear from one of our sponsors. Want daily interviews with real estate investors and none of the fluff? Go to bestevershow.com, where Joe Fairless interviews real estate investors and entrepreneurs daily about their best advice ever. Go to bestevershow.com. Welcome to this very exciting edition of Step Up Your Game with Dan. Today, we are going to be talking about swipe files. So, do you have a swipe file? What? Why don't you have a swipe file yet? You need to start a swipe file no matter where you are in your cycle as a business. Number one, what is a swipe file? So a swipe file is a collection of tested and proven advertising pieces or sales letters. So copywriters in the advertising space and even in the creative space use these types of files all the time. So I want to give you 4 reasons today why you should be keeping a swipe file too. Number one, these swipe files give you ideas when creating headlines and titles for your ads. Those headlines and those titles need to be able to grab your customer or your prospective client or donor or investor's attention. They have to be able to grab it. And so when you start to see advertisements in your newspaper or online or wherever it is that are constantly coming up, it means that there's something working about those. There's something that continues to work, and you need to save those and put them in your file. Number 2 is when you write ad copy for your own ads, these types of things, these swipe files will get your creative juices flowing. When you sit down to write, it allows you to be able to review some of those things and get your creative juices flowing. It gives you inspiration and it gets you writing quicker when you go to sit down to write. Number 3, it helps you to learn strategies and those tips and tricks in marketing, especially when you're starting to communicate with customers. Number 4 is that the more that you read and digest advertisements, whether you like it or not, those digestions of that marketing material and the reading of those materials will give you a better idea of how to become and how to be a better copywriter. Now, I love writing copy for advertisements. I feel like I'm really good at it. I also like taking newspaper ads, watching television ads and radio ads and stuff, and I pull them apart. I critique them, and I figure out what is it that works, what's not. I can look at a TV ad and tell you if it's going to work. I can look at a newspaper ad or a magazine article or a postcard that comes in the mail and tell you whether or not they probably got a good response off of that. So those are the 4 things that I would tell you as to why you should be keeping a swipe file. Now let's go into some best practices when keeping this swipe file. Number 1, you want to start keeping all kinds of ads and articles. So these are like newspaper articles, these are magazine ads. If you get like sales emails right now, go on to a landing page that's trying to sell your product, all of those things you want to be able to save. Even online. And when you're online and you have a social media ad come across your page and you start to see it over and over and over several weeks and months, something's working there and you want to take a screenshot of that. I'm going to give you a resource towards the end today that'll give you the ability to be able to have an easy way to save this swipe file so it'll be searchable and everything. And so you want to take screenshots of those social media ads, whether it be with your phone or whether you're on your desktop. You also want to create and save a list of links to like YouTube ads or YouTube videos that are very unique and actually are eye-popping. Clippings of websites that you have that have copy on them. You want to make sure you save those. Websites change over time, so you have to have a way and a process to be able to clip those so that you can save that copy. And then, of course, you want to make sure you save as many headlines as possible. The headlines that I like to look at and like to get a lot of inspiration from are press releases and blog posts. Because typically press releases are written by people who are really, really good at grabbing a customer or a person's attention. It's the same thing with bloggers. Bloggers and vloggers are really good about writing headlines that grab your attention. Now, when you have all of these ads and articles, you want to make sure that you're reviewing them often. Don't just stick them in a file and never look at them again. Stick them in a file and just review them periodically, especially when you sit down and start writing some ad copy. The next thing here is take them out whenever you are sitting down to write your ad copy. Don't just start to try to write without looking at it. Go back to your swipe file, go see what some other people are using, and make that swipe file useful for you. But here's the biggest thing. Do not directly copy those. This swipe file is not a plagiarism file. It's not a copy file. It's a swipe file. So you're swiping and you're keeping these in your collection so you can use them for seeing the layouts and the structures and the formats, not copying and pasting words. Now you can use similar words as long as you're not copying them word for word for word. That's called plagiarism, and you do not want to get into plagiarism at all. That's not a good thing. So I want to talk to you about a really good resource for helping you create this swipe file. On our podcast, we've recently started to ask questions at the end about some of the favorite technologies that entrepreneurs are using on a daily basis that helps them get more things done. And one of the things that they've started to recommend is a software called Evernote. And so guess what? I decided to go to evernote.com and figure this thing out for myself. And I absolutely love it. So I am using it. My wife is using it. So my team are also using it. And so I would suggest you go and use evernote.com. I think they have a free version. I'm also using the paid version. So you can just go straight to evernote.com to figure that out. And so there's a couple things that you can do with Evernote. Number one, you can actually save these websites straight from your browser. So they have a little add-on or a little plug-in that you can use for your browser, whether you use Firefox or Safari or Internet Explorer, if anybody uses that anymore. But they have pretty much a plug-in for anything, and they also have a desktop app. They have a mobile app for your iPad or iPhone or Android. So they have a lot of different ways for you to be able to have this program at your fingertips. It's not just for swipe filing, it's for just notes and lists and things in general to keep track of. But this is a very easy thing to use to be able to create your swipe file if you have Evernote or if you could start using Evernote. The next thing I would suggest you can do is it allows you to write freehand in your notes. You can take a clipping of a website, circle on that website, arrows on the website, cross things out, highlight. You can do whatever you want on there. It's really, really cool. And you can also search these. So it takes a website, it takes an article, it takes some content, and it makes it searchable so that when you need to find it later, you can search for it and it'll show up. You also can organize these things in this swipe file. You can organize them into various notebooks or categories. And so it makes it very, very easily accessible for you to be able to get these. And that's the biggest thing. You don't want to spend all this time and effort and energy creating this swipe file, this collection of tested and proven advertising pieces or sales letters, and just not use it again. It's just kind of like when you go to a seminar and you sit down and you take a bunch of notes at a seminar and you never go back to those notes. Don't do that with this. This is one of those things that's going to be a useful thing for you. It's a living, breathing, always constantly adding to this swipe file to give you that continual inspiration for your future advertising pieces. And you should also, in addition to creating this swipe file, always be reading marketing books. These marketing books will be the best way for you to be able to learn some of this ad copy and how to do that. So I'm going to recommend two different books for you on this episode. The first one is The 22 Irrefutable Laws of Marketing by Al Ries and Jack Trout. So you can go to our website, toughdecisions.net, and we'll have it in the show notes. And you can also pick up The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy. I like both of those books. They have a lot of good information about various marketing pieces and how to write good ad copy. So, bottom line here, create a swipe file, and then once you've created that swipe file, make sure you've created it in a way that makes it useful for you and you can use it over and over and over again. So thank you for listening. Make sure right after this episode, you make sure you get evernote.com, the website, go to evernote.com and register for that. And also make sure that you start to create this swipe file and use it over and over and over again. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again next week for another edition of Step Up Your Game with Dan. Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.